Good old FiiO, that giant of chi-fi. And today, obviously, we're looking at one of their IEMs. This is the FiiO FD15 single dynamic driver in monitor. Let's get it. What's cracking, audio fans? It's David here from Prime Audio Reviews. That is the box for the FiiO FD15, which retails at currently $149. So it's a single dynamic driver IEM. Inside the box, you get a ridiculous number of ear tips, which is a good thing, by the way. I think in total you get like 14 pairs of ear tips, which is fantastic. I love that. You also get this rather strange box. We've seen this one before from FiiO. It's a little plastic kind of transparent drawer with Lego blocks or whatever you call them on the top. There's one of these, which is an MMCX easy removal tool, I think they call it. This is basically to disconnect the MMCX cable from the IEMs because it can be rather challenging. But enough with all that. Here's the IEMs. By the way, these are one of those filter system IEMs. So you get two pairs of filters. You get the black filter, which is kind of like your default standard. And then you get the red filter, which is warmer with a slightly elevated bass response. So let's look at the build of the FD15 here. And we've got these lovely stainless steel shells. These are kind of on another level. They're I guess similar to what you might expect from Dunu, for example. Like, although they are shiny, very polished, they're not super affected by fingerprints, although you do want to give them a bit of a polish now and then, but they are superbly, beautifully built, really nice. Look at the strength of the magnets in here is crazy. Because we've got a big driver. It's like 13.8 millimeters, which is way above the sort of, it's kind of standard for single dynamic driver IEMs, which is 10 millimeters. So these are 13.8. Now you might be thinking that means bass, but yeah, it kind of, we'll get into that. So comfort wise, really good. Build wise, fantastic. Accessories are excellent. Let's have a look at the cable, and it's a beautiful silver plated copper cable. Really nice. A little bit on the thick side. I like that personally. They feel super robust. It's this nice dark brown bronzy color. I love it. And on top of that, it is modular. So by unscrewing this little thing here, you can remove the termination, and in the box you get a 4.4 millimeter, this one balanced, and a 3.5 millimeter single-ended termination. I'm still not a huge fan of FiiO's implementation of modular plugs, but it works. It's effective enough. Anyway, that's a cable. It's a beautiful cable. Time to talk now about the sound. And well, let's quickly mention these filters again. So the black filters are default. The red filters have a warmer sound. What they actually do, the red filter, they lower the upper mid-range and the lower treble. So that increases the perceived level of the bass without actually increasing the quantity of bass. So it's a warmer sound. I did enjoy the red filter, but I quickly discovered that certain micro details were obviously missing. So I switched back to the black filter, a little bit more detail, albeit a little bit brighter. Not a lot, but a little bit brighter. But those micro details, yeah, I miss them when they're not there. So as I'm describing the sound here, obviously I'm talking about with the black filter in place. Now, the FD15 has a balanced sound signature, and with the black filter, it sounds fairly neutral, but with a little enhancement in the bass. Its natural timbre stands out as one of its biggest assets, especially in the mid-range and in the treble. It strikes the right balance between clarity and musicality, so that details are reasonably well preserved but it still has a nice pleasing tonal quality. And now we'll throw up the graph. That's what it looks like. You can see that sub bass roll off there. And by the way, what you're looking at is the black and the red filters. So in terms of bass, look, just like the mids and the treble, the bass gets the timbre just right as well. There is that sub bass fall off, but you know, the extra large dynamic driver in these can still surprise you now and then with its extension and its rumble. But if you're a bass head, the bass will not be enough for you. It's on the lighter end of the scale, even with the red filters. For me, however, I find that the bass complements the mid-range beautifully. It adds depth and warmth. It's kind of low in quantity, the bass, but it's a very good quality, and it does have some authority as well. It's got a beautiful tone to it. The mid-range is rich and articulated, silky smooth, without being oversaturated or colored. Vocals are slightly forward in their presentation with an underlying warmth, which is carried over from that mid bass. The mid-range it's nice and full-bodied, it's very natural, but at the same time it maintains excellent clarity. And while it may not be the most transparent mid-range, it kind of oh my gosh, never mind. It prioritizes naturalness over absolute fidelity. So that's why it's not the most transparent, it's not the most detailed, but very musical and very natural. The result is a sultry and a very engaging sound that is never overly dark nor thick. Then in the treble, while it's not particularly forward in the mix, the FD15's treble has got good extension. Despite being slightly laid back, it is airy and it's even a bit sparkly. The treble tuning is really designed for that accurate timbre and the overall coherency, and it provides a neutral but engaging presentation again. As a bonus though, there's no harshness in the highs. There's not any sibilance unless it's inherent in the track. The treble itself isn't particularly forward, but because the level of the bass is fairly tame, the treble does seem a little bit forward. So although the mid-range is beautifully warm and natural, the treble, there's a little bit of brightness there. I wouldn't call the overall tonality bright, however. I'd still say it's on the warmer side of neutral, however, with that sub bass roll off. Now, in terms of soundstage and technicalities, we've got a nice commanding and a wide soundstage, surprisingly wide. It creates a nice natural three-dimensional stage. It's not the most organized out there due to the forwardness of the mid-range, but it still maintains a fairly congestion-free zone. The imaging and layering are surprisingly good. So pretty good for gaming if you're into that. However, the detail retrieval is somewhat average, even with the black filters. Now we're going to do a couple of quick comparisons, starting with FiiO's own FH3, which during last year, or maybe even the year before that, it's been in my sort of top 3 in this price range. The FH3 is a hybrid IEM. It's more balls to the wall kind of fun than the FD15. It's a bit more out there, but it's less accurate in its timbre and tone. It's got a sort of grittier and a more boisterous bass with better sub bass extension. And the FH3's mids have got less clarity, but its treble, the treble of the FH3 is actually brighter and a little bit edgy. Some people, if you're sensitive to treble, it might get a bit edgy for you. The soundstage on the FH3 has more forward depth, but the FD15 has got an edge when it comes to stage width. And I think the FD15 is probably, it's going to suit more people's tastes as it's like more refined and it's smoother in the highs. But for those who seek a more visceral bass, like a really nice punchy bass, you're going to probably prefer the FH3, assuming that you are not sensitive to a slightly edgier treble. Now, if I were asked to pick a winner out of these two, that would be quite difficult. I do love the timbre of the FD15, it's beautiful. However, at the same time, I do love that extra bass extension on the FH3. Let's pull in another one now. It's going to be the FiiO S12 Pro. Now this one it's around the same price. It's $135 currently, and it's a planar driver, IEM 14.8mm driver. It's more V-shaped and it has significantly more elevated lows in both the mid bass and the sub bass compared to the FD15. So if you like earth-shattering sub bass, the S12 Pro does it better than most planars out there. The timbre is slightly less accurate than the FD15 because that underlying bass permeates the sound and it colors the tone. Lower mid-range notes are thicker on the FiiO, and the core mid-range is slightly recessed compared to the FD15's more forward vocal presentation. I'd say the S12 Pro's treble is smooth and sweet, yet surprisingly its micro detail retrieval is much better than the FiiO. The stage is equally wide on both of these IEMs. The S12 Pro probably achieves a bit more stage depth and better layering, but in terms of detail retrieval, the S12 Pro is way ahead in those micro details. Right, so how do we wrap this up? Well, the FiiO FD15, you know what? It's a beautiful IM. It sounds really incredible. Mostly for me, the thing I like about it most is a beautiful natural timbre, beautiful, rich yet clear mid-range, lovely vocals that are sort of sultry, rich, saturated, but not dark. They're not thick and they're not congested. There's excellent clarity throughout. Really nice. The bass quality is fantastic, although like I said, if you're a bass head, you might find it a little bit lacking in the lows. The treble has got a beautiful timbre, which is not an easy thing to achieve. And overall, yeah, it's a very pleasant IEM. And I would say it can pretty much compete with anything in its price range around that sort of $100 to $160 price bracket. And having said that, time to wrap it up. So thanks for watching the video. If you liked it, give it a thumbs up, Pa Family Audiophile style. If you're new here, consider hitting that subscribe button before you go. If you want to support the channel, by the way, there's a Patreon link down below. My very small Patreon family is growing slowly but steadily. And until next time, I'll see you later.